And joining us now in Washington is Solon Simmons, professor at School for Conflict Analysis and Resolution at George Mason University. Thank you very much for your time today.
Good to be here.
So today, Mitt Romney criticized Obama's foreign policy. What is your take on his comments?
Well, Mitt Romney is most vulnerable, if you will, on foreign policy. An interesting thing about the debate, which everyone agrees was a disaster for the president and went for Mitt Romney. One of the backstories of this was that it was about the economy, which is the issue, if Mitt Romney can emphasize, which works most to his advantage, because there has been this unemployment problem and the economy hasn't picked up. Now, on foreign policy, it's the exact opposite issue. Mitt Romney is vulnerable here because he doesn't have much foreign policy experience. He's more of a domestic business kind of focus, and he also happens to make missteps. He had trouble during the Olympics because he had a few gaffes there. He also had the famous one around the Benghazi attack on 9/11. And so doesn't have a sure footing. And interestingly enough, being aggressive and quick to speak is not necessarily the most diplomatic way to manage the foreign policy conversation. So that works to the president's advantage. Even in a sense, the more people are talking about that, the better for Barack Obama. Which leads us to this Thursday issue, because Joe Biden, of course, is the foreign policy advisor for the president. Extremely knowledgeable, has decades of experience focusing on this issue. And so, in a sense, it seems to me that on Thursday, Joe Biden is very much in the position that Mitt Romney was in the last debate, which is to say all he has to do is show up, look competent, and present a nice rival, a contrast to the vice president candidate Paul Ryan, and he can do very well. So in a sense, I think that the president took his lumps in the beginning. They played it too cautious. They were obviously, I thought it was a bit of a rope-a-dope strategy. Go in there, just take some blows. Don't say anything stupid, make no gaffes. Where the left really wanted a champion to go out there and tell the story about what was wrong with those Republicans. And so it was the left's collapse, in a sense, that led to the story, the narrative, if you will, that the president did so badly. Because really, if you look at the verbatim text, it wasn't such a disaster for him, and the policies, if anything, matched up quite well with the analysts saying that Mitt Romney's plans perhaps were not as honest as they might have been. So I think that's where we're sort of headed into in this next phase of the struggle.
Paul Ryan commented that Joe Biden is a smooth and seasoned debater. What will Ryan have to do to hold his own?
Well, he's got to show that he knows something not only about the economy, but also about foreign policy. I think he can do it. I don't think there's any problem in that respect. This is working the refs, if you will, or getting the expectations game going, which is exactly what happened in the last debate. Things are so professional. There's so much money. Things are, in a sense, over-scripted, and I think this tends to drive down the quality of public discourse. I think the president, oddly enough, tried to be extremely civil in his comments, and in that way suffered. Whereas Paul Ryan, I think, knows how to get in and tell a very good story. The president can't tell a very good story, oddly enough, about the economy, and that's what I think got him in trouble. To tell a good story, you need a good villain. The Republicans, and this is something Paul Ryan can do, tell a story about government is the villain, coming after your tax dollars. That was mentioned again and again and again in the last debate, and will be again, I'm sure, here. But you have to have some villain for the other side. Who is that villain? Is it business? That was never mentioned in the last debate. How will you characterize it? Not all of business, but some pieces. The Democrats are in a tough spot because they're not running what you might call a populist agenda, even though they're characterized as socialists. Really, they're anything but. They don't want to rock the boat because they want recovery to go quickly, and they don't want to spook the investor class. And that's their difficulty going forward.
There are only 4 weeks of campaigning left to do. What do you think both candidates will focus on now?
Well, I think they're going to try to play to their strengths. Mitt Romney, obviously, as you say, we saw he has a little bit of swagger. I think he's going to want to have the conversation be as much about the economy as he can, but these new jobs numbers that we just saw undermine that story a bit, so that weakens his position. He has to turn to foreign policy. He's very aggressive. He has that no apologies approach. He's going to try to see how that plays. I suspect it's not going to be as good a card for him to play as he hopes, but he's going to try to play that up. The president just has to recover. He has nowhere to go but up. This was as bad as it gets, where suddenly they're saying that he's debating the chair in the New Yorker magazine. So all he has to do is talk about why we ought to stay the course, why he's the guy we've all known for these 4 years, and really his policies are now starting to kick in, and we need to let them play out. Those are the 2 strategies going forward.
Who do you think is going to win?
The president, the race?
Yeah.
Not
to put you on the spot or anything.
No, not at all. It's easy to say because the president's so far ahead still. I mean, you saw the Gallup numbers, but if you look at closer state-by-state predictions and you look at the experts who are trying to game this, 538 blog and so on, it seems pretty clear that the president's way ahead. Not as far as he was before, but those job numbers are good. The 7.8 number gets him below that 8%. He has a better story going forward, and he's such a likable guy. He had a bad night. You have to bet on the president at this point.
All right, Professor Simmons, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.